All right, let's just dive right into today's explainer because we're going to challenge a massive assumption about how we actually do deep work. You know that feeling when you stare at a giant to-do list, absolutely freeze up, and then mentally beat yourself up for being lazy? Well, we're going to totally reframe that today. Let's get into stop using one study plan, adapting to your mental weather.
Section 1. The wardrobe malfunction. So, before we even talk about study techniques, I want you to imagine a totally absurd scenario with me.
Picture stepping out onto a blazing, sun-soaked beach in the middle of July, wearing a thick, heavy, insulated winter coat. Or, on the flip side, walking out into a freezing snowstorm wearing absolutely nothing but a thin t-shirt. It's laughable, right? Like, obviously we adjust our clothes to match the physical weather outside. We look at the environment and we adapt.
Which actually brings us to a really pivotal question. Why on earth don't we dress our grains the same way? It's kind of a wild paradox when you think about it. When it comes to demanding cognitive tasks, we completely toss this basic logic of adaptation right out the window. We check the weather app on our phones every single morning, but we totally ignore the weather happening inside our own heads.
That brings us to Section 2, the one-size-fits-all trap. This is a major roadblock for pretty much all of us.
Here's the core issue. On some days, we wake up totally full of energy, and on others, we are completely exhausted. But for some reason, we expect our study plan to be completely identical for both. We demand that we operate in the exact same way, producing the exact same high-level output, regardless of whether our internal tank is totally full or running entirely on empty.
And honestly, just look at the completely unforgiving expectations we put on ourselves. We sit down and demand the absolute hardest tasks, the deepest thinking, and the highest concentration every single day. When you stack it all up like that, well, yeah, no wonder it's so incredibly difficult to get started sometimes. You're basically forcing yourself to climb a mountain when your brain barely has the energy to tie its shoes.
So if you take nothing else away today, remember this quote. The problem isn't always motivation. We have been so conditioned to believe that if we can't focus, we're just slacking off. But please, stop feeling guilty about struggling to begin. That lack of momentum, it is absolutely not a discipline issue or some kind of character flaw.
Moving right into Section 3, forecasting your mental weather. If motivation isn't the root cause here, what is?
Basically, we're just using the wrong plan for today's specific conditions. Let's look at this definition of mental weather. It is the natural, completely normal fluctuation of your brain's cognitive energy and clarity from day to day. Just like the actual weather, some days your brain is clear, sunny, and firing on all cylinders. Other days, it's cloudy, sluggish, and distracted. And the most important word here is normal. This fluctuation is just how human beings operate.
So forcing the exact same plan every single day naturally causes massive friction. Trying to force a high-energy plan on a low-energy mental weather day is exactly like wearing that heavy winter coat at the beach. You're just going to sit there, sweating, feeling miserable, and wondering why everything is so incredibly hard.
So how do we fix it? Section 4, matching plan to brain. Let's look at the solution. We've got two really straightforward steps here. Step 1, literally just stop forcing the same plan every day. Let go of that rigid schedule. And step 2, actively adjust your study plan to match your cognitive energy. Instead of trying to white-knuckle it with brute force discipline, the real secret to getting stuff done is working with your real-time energy levels.
You can see exactly how this maps out right here. When you wake up and your brain state is clear and energetic, boom, that is the time to tackle those hardest tasks and do that deep thinking. Take full advantage of the sunshine. But crucially, when you are completely exhausted, don't beat yourself up and try to force it. Adjust the plan to match that low cognitive energy. Maybe you just organize your files or do some light reading instead of writing a complex essay. Aligning what you expect with how you actually feel totally removes that initial friction of getting started.
Which brings us to this really profound realization. You succeed not because I became more disciplined, but because my study plan finally matched my brain. I just love that, because it proves that working smarter with your natural energy fluctuations, instead of just grinding away trying to be more disciplined, is the real secret to long-term consistency.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to ask yourself every single time you sit down at your desk. What is your mental weather forecasting for today? Is it bright and sunny, ready to absolutely crush a big challenge? Or is it a little overcast, needing a much gentler approach? Check in with yourself before you start working, adjust your plan, and you might just find that the work isn't impossible after all. You really just needed to change your clothes to match the weather.